Welcome to the Metal Bob Live Podcast. I'm your host, Metal Bob. Today's show is brought to you by Legend Picks and also artist Jeremiah Kalleck. You can find links to our sponsors and more at the Metal Bob Live website. There you can also find links to the latest Metal Bob gear, including shirts, hoodies, and more. On today's show, I had the honor of speaking with bassist Mr. Dave Fowler. Dave has toured with Lori Morgan, the Boxmasters, and is currently on tour with Artemis Pyle. We had a great conversation about all kinds of cool stuff. So sit back, have a listen, and enjoy the show. Thank you.
Hello, this is Dave.
Mr. Dave Fowler, how you doing? This is Metal Bob from the Metal Bob Live Podcast, buddy.
Hey, Metal Bob, what's going on?
Man, it's great to talk to you, man. I've been a fan of yours for years. I first reached out to you about 20 years ago on MySpace. Remember that?
Wow. Barely.
Yeah.
But thank you for that. You're very kind. Thank
exactly. I think I don't even remember what drew me to you, but I think it was the fact the bassist used to be I don't know if you still are, but you were a Spectre sponsor.
Yeah, I still kind of work with Spectre a little bit. I've kind of evolved into a real different thing, which we will talk about as we go here.
Yeah, I mean, but the Spectre basses, I think, is what kind of drew me to you, because I was always a bass player, and you had the cool designs and all the different artwork, and I always admired that.
Well, thank you, man. Yeah, my old white Spectre that I kind of, in a roundabout way, I guess I got known for was, I found that bass in 1995 on tour, and I found it in. Well, let me back up. The story on the bass actually is I was in Portland, Oregon, when I was still playing for Lori Morgan, country artist, and we were on tour. We were in Portland, and we were going to play the Rose Garden the next night where the Blazers play basketball. We were on tour with somebody, like Alabama or somebody. I can't remember distinctly, but I saw this. I was driving around the day before. I got a rental car, and like I would do on the road, and I've passed by this record store, and this huge police poster was in the window it was the Synchronicity tour with Sting jumping off the drum riser with that white Spectre. And I was like, it really caught my eye. So I turned the car around, went back down the street, went in the record store, bought the poster, mailed it home to myself so I didn't have to carry it around on tour. And then that started my hunt for a white Spectre. But what I didn't know is the Kramer era that I was looking for, they only made 108 white ones. And so it's a little hard to find. So I started putting, at that time, there was all the bass specialty shops, Third Bass in Denver and Bass Central in LA and Bass Northwest with Evan up in Seattle. And there's a lot of bass specialty stores, the Bass Place in Arizona. And so I called every bass shop and every major music store in New York, everywhere, looking for one, and could not find one. 2.5 years later, I get a call from Lee Miller at the Bass Place in Arizona asking if I had found one and if I still wanted one. And I said, I did not find one, and yes, I would love to have one. And unbeknownst to me at the time, the one that I have today is the one I still have. And it turned out to be the best sounding Spectre and I've owned a lot of them through the years, off and on. And this one has some kind of magic about it, tonally, that's just no other Spectre has. And I've just held on to that little bass, and I still got it and still love his basses.
Nice. Yeah. And I don't even know where to start with you, because you have been involved in so many projects. You're a record producer. You've been a tour manager. You're a touring bass player. I mean, man, you've done a lot.
Well, quite honestly, I don't really think about it until I get on the phone with somebody like you and you start bringing up oh, you did this and you did that. Cause I'm so, let me start off by saying I'm so thankful that I'm still in this business. And not only am I still in this business, I'm still doing it on the level that I was doing it when I was 22 and I'm 58 years old. So, man, I count my blessings every day because so many guys get swallowed up in it. But I learned to do a lot of different things along the way, Bob, because, man, in order to work, you really can't or you shouldn't have a lot of pride in this business because this business will humble you. It's like um, it's like golf may do to a professional athlete. It will humble you, man,
Right.
because there's just always the next thing going on, and everybody's moving on, and it's youth driven. As you get older, you become not less relevant because you're not important. It's just it is a youth driven business. And it happens to all of us, man. It happened to the guys when I moved here when I was 20. I became the guy, and they were on their way out, just like kind of I am now. But I've been real lucky, man, and I'm grateful that I've been able to do the things I do, and I learned to tour manage out of necessity, out of Lori Morgan, bless her heart, she asked me to tour manage early in her career and play bass because I could make twice the money that everybody else was making. And I was like, well, heck yeah, sign me up. And that she was very patient with me. And to this day, I have a great relationship with Lori. She's a wonderful friend. And that's where I cut my teeth tour managing. And then I went on to do it for Billy Bob Thornton and play bass and tour manage for Billy Bob. And then I was just one of the tour managers for Dolly Parton on international tours. And I don't think about all that stuff until I get on an interview like this, and then it all starts rolling around in my mind of all the things that I've been fortunate enough to do. But thank you for following and for bringing all that up. They're all good memories. Well, not all good memories, but most all of them are good memories, man.
Absolutely. And I had reached out to you, I think, a couple weeks ago because I just got done seeing the Box Masters in Kansas City at Knuckleheads.
Oh yeah, man.
Man, it was a great show, dude. Them guys are really cool, man. They got a little rockabilly, jazz, kind of rock and roll vibe going on. And I was really hoping you were going to be touring with them this year, man, because as long as I've known you on social media, I've never got a chance to shake your hand or meet you, and I was kind of hoping for that, but so
We'll have to try to fix that. Where are you located?
I'm in Columbia, Missouri now. So,
Okay.
yeah, originally I lived in the Quad Cities in Illinois. I'm sure you're familiar with that area, Davenport,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Iowa, and all that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we're gonna be, and you should look at artemispileband.com. We're probably going to be out somewhere within striking distance soon. I know we're coming to Iowa. We're coming to Minnesota, won't be close, but Arkansas might possibly be. I don't
Okay,
know. Just have to look at our schedule because as far as I know right now, unless we get shut down again, the tour dates are intact.
nice.
So
I'll
yeah, man.
I'll make it a point to try to see Artemis Pyle, man. I'm really interested in that. I know Artemis played with Leonard Skinner. He played the drums in the '70s. He was on like "Give Me Back My Bullets" and "Street Survivors." I know he's been around for a long time, and I know he played drums with them again in the late '80s, early '90s. Is that
That
correct?
is correct. Yes, that is correct.
And so, how long have you been with Artemis?
I've been in the band about 7, almost 8 years now. Um, it's Artemis is a great guy, man. He's just a really warm guy, and man, he just turned 73, and he still plays with that power and that energy that he had in his 20s. Now because he's older, and he was a Marine, so he's still very disciplined. He was a Marine from 68 to 72, right during Vietnam. Fortunately, he did not get deployed Somehow, I don't know how he escaped that, but he didn't get deployed. But anyway, he's just a wonderful guy, man. And really, what we are is we're a band that we honor and pay tribute to the music of Ronnie Van Zant's Leonard Skinner. So we play all the old great songs, Saturday Night Special, uh, Simple Man, Free Bird, Sweet Home Alabama, Curtis Lowe. We play all that era of the Skinner music. And so a lot of people would say, well, you're just a tribute band. Well, we kind of are with the real drummer, So, but we take a lot of pride in duplicating the music to a T. And if there's the best compliment we get ever from the fans is that they haven't heard the music played like that since they saw Skinner in '77. We try to play it that close and that tight to what they did. We try to get the sounds correct. We use a lot of the same style instruments. We really take time in dialing up the sounds, and it shows when we play. I mean, it's not even necessarily that we're all killer players. It's that we really work well together, and that's what makes a great band to me.
Right. And I also read somewhere that you guys took time to learn the original arrangements of those songs.
Oh, we did, yeah. Yeah, Artemis brought to the table a lot of their endings that they used to do, and I mean down to that. Yeah, we spent a lot, especially our two guitar players are Scott Rains and Jerry Lida, and we all grew up together in North Carolina. Our keyboard player is Brad Durden, who does the majority of the singing. Scott Rains sings the songs that Brad doesn't. But yeah, those two boys have spent countless hours on parts, and they actually got to know Ed King before Ed passed, and they went and sat down with Ed several times just to pick the songs apart and to learn the right parts and all that. So they really spent some time with Ed learning that stuff. So we try to do it upright, man.
Nice. So I just want to go back a little ways. So when I first started talking to you years ago, how did you get the whole Dolly Parton gig?
Man, that was a direct result of my really dear friend Kent Wells. Kent is a guitar player buddy of mine. Just, I've been so fortunate to be around so many unbelievably great musicians, and Kent is one of those. Jerry and Scott are, Brad is, Artemis. I've been able to play with just some fantastic musicians. My buddy Todd Woolsey, my buddy Jack Gavin. There's too many to count, but Kent and I became friends, man, when we first both landed in Nashville, 37 years ago. We met at a show. He was playing with the Oak Ridge Boys. I was playing with Lori Morgan, and we were the opener. And we met that day, and we became friends, and we just hit it off. And eventually, Kent became Dolly's guitar player and is today her record producer. And we've just been friends. It's hard to remember a time in my life that Kent Wells was not in my life. He's a great dude. He's a great family man. He's a great dad. He's and man, he's just one of the most amazing guitar players I've ever heard, and a great record producer. His son Derek Wells, if you listen to country radio, his son Derek's probably playing on 15 out of the top 15 records in the top 15 playlist. Chip off the old block there. Derek has become a tremendous musician and now a record executive in his own right. So he's doing well. We're very happy for Derek.
That's great, man.
Yeah, man. But Kent got me in that camp. That's not an easy camp to get into.
Yeah,
Dolly.
I bet.
No, she's very as with anybody of that stature, Billy Bob's that way. Billy,
Yeah.
he just has certain people that, their comfort level is very important. The artist comfort level, So, I mean, Kent eventually was able to kind of get me over there and did a couple of European tours with her and a couple of stateside tours. And it was a lot of fun, man. And I actually got to play on one of her records. I played on her version of Crimson and Clover with her and Tommy James. So if you go download that off iTunes, I'm playing bass on that record.
Oh, I love that song, dude. I bet that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it was cool, man. When
Yeah.
Kent, they had cut the song in sort of a bluegrass style. You will hear it if you go listen to it. And the bass, the upright bass just wasn't cutting it. So Kent calls me one day and he goes, "Hey man, how's your pick skills?" Because he wanted it to be played rock with a pick.
Right.
I said, "Well, they're kind of pretty range. They're pretty real okay, I guess." I said, "If you'll work with me, I can get you a track." And I said, "What you got?" And he goes, "Man, we cut this song with Dolly and Tommy James and Crimson and Clover." He goes, "You remember that old song?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course. I've played it 1,000 times." And so he gave me an opportunity to be on Dolly's record, which there again, another debt of gratitude to my brother Kent Wells for allowing me to be on that record.
Absolutely. My first experience with that song, obviously I grew up as that 80s kid, was when Joan Jett covered it, and that was just
Hmm.
killer, man, when she did it.
Yeah, she did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually my favorite song on that whole record. I know there was a lot of good songs on there, but that cover was always one that stuck out.
Yeah, she had quite a hit on that with her version. Yeah, it was really well done. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but I think my friend Sandy Gennaro might have been playing drums with Joan at that time. He lives here in Nashville now. There's been so many wonderful musicians that have moved here from New York and LA, just because it's a greght place to be.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So do you get out much down there in Nashville and jump around the bars and hang out and play a little bit at all, or what?
No, man, I really don't anymore. I'm 58 years old, and I just when I'm home off the road, I like to be home. I have a little boy who's 10 years old, and I do 50% shared custody with his mother, and I coach. I do things like coach Little League baseball, and I work on tunes when I have to. I've got a big thing coming up October 24th at the CMA Theater at the Country Music Hall of Fame
Nice.
with Dolly and Artemis and a bunch of people. It's a Susan Komen breast cancer awareness fundraiser, October 24th here in Nashville. So I'll bone up and play with all the artists. I think Kix Brooks going to be there, Dolly, Artemis. I'll play with everybody. I'll be in the house band. So I stay home and learn songs and, clean the garage and just that kind of stuff.
Absolutely,
Stuff,
man.
stuff everybody else does.
Very cool. Yeah, I got a lot of friends that live down there now, and I'm going to throw a name out, and you may or may not know this guy. You know Dave Abdo.
I do. Is he a fiddle player?
He's a bass player, Dave Abdo.
Man, I know his name.
I know you know him because he's on your friends list, man. He's a player down there now. He lives down there now. They got Will Gustafson. There's a bunch of guys down there that I know that live down there now. I think Dave. I'm trying to think. He actually writes for a magazine too. Dave does, and that may be where you know Dave.
It could be
Bass magazine, and I bet you he did an article with you. I almost can guarantee he did. But
oh darn.
Yeah.
Well, just dang it. Tell him to give me a buzz.
I will, buddy. I will. Yeah, it's funny that I'm talking to you now because I have been, like I said, I've been following you for years, and I mean years. When I say years, I'm going back to MySpace, man. I used to follow you on there.
Wow.
I remember the white Spectre with like the Uncle Sam, head on it, all that stuff, man. And and I think that's what brought my attention to you was all the cool basses and things you had, and Yeah, it's really cool to actually finally get you on the horn, man. I know I sent you a picture of that CD you had sent me years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, I've forgotten about that, but once you sent me the photo, uh, yes, I remember it well now.
It's so old, it's got your old phone number on it.
I'll be damned, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
That's amazing.
I remember it's got that track. She's a wild one. I remember that's on there, and there's a couple other ones. But it's a great CD, man, and I treasure that to this day.
Well, bless you. You're kind. That was a band I had with Kyle Level, a songwriter. He's now down in Texas. Kyle makes his living playing at piano bars, and he's really good at it. He's a great comedian. He's a great entertainer, and he's a great songwriter, a great singer. It was Kyle and my buddy Kenny Rhino Earl who actually played drums in the metal band Man O' War.
Nice.
Kenny was Rhino in Man O' War. And then Tommy Hatcher played guitars, and it was just the bass, drums, and guitar and a singer, just three-piece. And we had a great time, man. We had a lot of fun making that record, and we didn't really wind up doing much outside of Nashville, really, but we had a really great time together, and we wrote some fun music, not necessarily anything lyrically astounding, but we wrote some really fun rock and roll with a slight maybe soul or funk edge on some of it, and it was a lot of fun. That was a very special time for all of us.
Nice. Yeah, Manowar, man. I remember growing up listening to those guys, all the muscle bound rock and rollers, man. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kenny's one of the best.
Yeah. What a great band.
Groove. Yeah, Kenny was one of the best groove players ever, but boy, he could really slay that metal stuff, man, with double bass. He's one of the best I've ever seen. And I'm a big Tommy Aldridge fan. For me to say that is really laying it out there because I mean Kenny's every bit the player Tommy Aldridge is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing I ever seen Tommy Aldrich do was play that drum solo with his hands, and he started bleeding from the wrist. Because you remember that, don't you? When he was,
Yes, I remember seeing
oh
that. Yes.
wow, that was unbelievable to me, man. It's like
Hmm.
this guy's the real deal, man.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
he's great, and of course Bonham used to do that in Zeppelin too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
but yeah, man, I love Aldridge. He's such a master of his craft,
and
as are many guys.
right. And while we're talking about drummers, man, Charlie Watts, man.
Yeah, that
That
was a bummer,
yeah, it was, buddy. This week,
and
man.
I got yeah, and then just not 2 weeks, two and a half weeks ago, we lost Dusty Hill, which was a real bummer, man.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm going to tell you something. So I was at Knuckleheads, and you've played that venue.
oh yeah, hmm
So you know how they got that big mural of all the musicians on the wall.
hmm
They already got Dusty on there, man. That's how quick they did that, man.
That's cool. Yeah, I loved Dusty, man. I
Yeah.
got to meet him a few times because of Billy Bob. My first gig with Billy Bob went down like this. I was at home. I was still married at the time, and I always kept my cell phone on the nightstand. And we had gone to bed, and it was late, man. It was like 1 a.m. My phone kept going off. I always had it on vibrate, not no ringer. And my wife was sleeping, and we had a new baby boy. My little boy was just small at that time, and my phone kept buzzing. And I just thought, well, that's some of my buddies just calling late, I'll just blow it off. And about the fourth time it rang, I thought, well, I better get up and see who's calling because something could be wrong with some of my family back home, or I better just see what's going on. So I grabbed the phone, left the bedroom so it wouldn't disturb my wife and at the time, and it was JD Andrew, which is Billy Bob's right-hand guy. And I was like, well, this is weird. I said, hello. And he goes, Dave, he says, it's JD. He said, we have to fire our bass player and send him home. He's just dealing with too many personal problems. And we just played down here in Franklin, Tennessee. He said, what are you doing for the next 3 weeks? And can you be in Montgomery, Alabama tomorrow at 5 o'clock for sound check? We're opening for ZZ Top. So I'm like, it's 1 a.m. I'm like, and when you get those kind of calls, if you don't say yes, they got to move on and find somebody,
Right,
because
right.
they're not going to stand around. And that's one of those things you don't have any time. You got to say yay or nay. And without even talking to my wife, I just said, yeah, man, I'll be there. Because I didn't have anything going at the time. And the timing was good. And Billy Bob knew I played, but he didn't know if I could do the gig. It's just they weren't a bind. And thank goodness they called me because my dear friend Steve Arnold, who used to work with Marty Stewart, Steve had done a couple of tours with Billy Bob and knew Billy. And Steve was going through some personal things, and he had his own landscaping business, which was doing really well. So Steve couldn't go. So he told JD, he said, call Dave. He can do it, man. So anyway, I said, yes, I'll be there. So the next day I get my dear friend Dwight Dixon to drive me from Nashville to Montgomery, Alabama, drop me off. I learned the show on the way to the gig. And basically we pull in the arena at 5 o'clock, and that's exactly the time that the Boxmasters and Billy get the stage for sound check. So the tour manager and the crew met me at the curb. The crew took my bags to the bus, and Tom Mayhew was our tour manager, who at the time tour managed Guns N' Roses. And Tom just said, Dave, get your bass, go straight to the stage. So I took all my charts and my notes and went to stage with Tom, and Billy was real nervous, and wasn't sure if he wanted me to play or not that night. Teddy Andreatis was playing keyboards, and Teddy toured with Guns N' Roses and Alice Cooper and a bunch of people. And he said, man, we're just going to get Teddy to play keyboard bass tonight. And he said, you can just watch and take notes tonight and then join us tomorrow. And I was like, well, that's cool. And Tom says, well, how do you feel, Dave? He says, you think you can do it? And their music is really simple. And Billy wants, especially the bass and drums, he wants them to play really simple. So it was not hard. I wasn't trying to play Rush tunes. So I said, yeah, man, I can do it. But I said, whatever, Billy's comfort level is, just. So Tom says to Billy, he says, look, man, he goes, come out to front of house with me. Dave, set up and play a couple of songs with the guys. Billy, if you like what he does, let him play tonight. And Dave, if he doesn't like what you do, you sit out tonight. I said, hey, that's fair. Fine. So Billy went out to the front of house with Tom, and we played a couple of songs. I don't even remember what the songs were, but we played a couple of songs, and Billy came back, and he was all smiles. He's like, oh, we'll be fine. So we do our set that night, opening for ZZ Top, and we get finished, and we all go back to our dressing room. Now, I promise I'm going somewhere with this.
That's all good. Keep it up. I love it, man. I love it.
So we go back to our dressing room, and ZZ Top's crew's getting them ready to go on, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, our dressing room door opens, and somebody says, hey, where's the bass player? And I turn around, and it's Dusty Hill, dude. And I'm like, I'm stunned because I'm the bass player he's looking for, and here stands one of my heroes asking for me. And I'm like, I don't remember exactly what I'd done. I think I might have raised my hand or like sheepishly, like I'm over here and I can't believe you're Dusty Hill, And he walks over to me and he goes, son, he said, they said you learned the show on the way down here today. He goes, is that true? I said, yes, sir, I did. And he goes, boy, he said, don't play so well tomorrow. He goes, I've been playing these top tunes for 40 years. He goes, and I still mess them up.
That's awesome, man.
So it was one of the highest compliments I ever got, man. And it was from one of my all-time bass heroes. So sorry that was so long-winded story.
No, that was super cool, Dave. I'm glad you told that story, man. That's awesome.
But that's how it happened, and that's how I got started with Billy Bob. And I did a few consecutive tours after that, and got to meet the top boys and got to know Dusty just a little bit. And yeah, it was great, man. I've been so fortunate. I tour managed for Dr. John too, man. I don't know if you knew that, but I worked closely with Dr. John.
Wow. That is super cool, man.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. You've had your hands in so many pies, dude. It's unbelievable. I mean,
Well, there again, I've just been very fortunate and very lucky, man, that I've been able to do the things I've been able to do. And it's, I just feel real blessed, and I'm still doing it. I'm still playing with Artemis. I'm
absolutely.
still making a few records here and there. And I'm part of a new record label and publishing venture called Get Joe Records.
Okay.
I've been hired on as the Universal Director of A&R for the label and the publishing company. So my dream job has always been would to be an A&R guy for a record label and to find talent. And I've got several new young acts that I'm working with right now that I'm super excited about. My business partners, Lenny Snow out of Dallas and Joe Ayala from New Mexico, are just great guys. Our slogan is music is our passion, and we have a lot of passion.
Nice.
So we're going to try to keep it real with just great songs, great music, and that kind of thing.
Very cool. That was great, man. Hey, so I want to ask you just a couple off the wall questions. So, who is some of your influences on a bass playing?
Oh man, there are many. Dusty Hill for sure.
Absolutely.
Billy Sheehan, who is a very close personal friend of mine. I love Billy. We spend time together when we can. He lives here now, and I go over to Billy's house and have meals and hang out and talk shop. And Billy was a great influence on me before I ever got to be friends with him. And then I got to know him, and he's just one of my dearest buds. And Billy, a guy named T.M. Stevens, if you look him up, he's a black guy from the Bronx, New York, and he was in the Pretenders. He played on
Okay.
all that 80s era Joe Cocker stuff. He was on all that. He was in uh, he played on Whitney Houston records. He played on Mariah Carey records. He did James Brown Living in America from the Rocky movie.
Nice.
His discography is ridiculous because he played with everybody, man. And I love TM. Unfortunately, TM. Well, fortunately, he's still with us. Unfortunately, he has dementia, and he will never play again. So, but I love TM, Billy, Dusty Hill, Chris Squire, obviously from Yes, and I got to meet Chris, a few years before he passed. Verdine White of Earth, Wind and Fire, Cliff Williams of AC/DC, and all these guys. I'm really proud to say are they're friends. I have direct contact with all of them, and I'm very fortunate that these are guys who are my heroes, and now I can just call them up, and it's really cool that I've been able to do that because, man, I'm no different than anybody. I'm basically a poor farm boy from North Carolina who never had anything, man, and I just came here and put my nose to the grindstone and worked hard, and I got in the right situation at the right time and met the right people, and here I am, and dude, I haven't got rich doing this. I never like to mislead anybody. I have not gotten rich doing this, but I have lived a killer life, dude. And I'm not, and I'm blessed. I didn't miss a meal today. I won't miss one tomorrow. I have more than some people and not as much as others, but I'm quite content with where I am in my life.
That's awesome, Dave. And it's funny, man. I'm a huge Billy Sheehan fan. I play bass too. Uh, he was one of my influences, obviously. And
Yeah, man.
I seen a picture that you posted not too long ago with a couple of them Yamahas, man.
Yeah. Well,
I
the black one Billy gave me. Their 10th anniversaries, and
yeah,
they made 300 of those, and yeah, and I think I'm speculating correctly. They made 150 in black and 150 in purple.
yeah. You
Well, I was in LA I don't know, man. It had to be 12, 15 years ago. I was out there with Billy hanging out, and he had been in Europe. We talked on the phone, and he said, "Hey man," he goes, "when you out in LA next month," he said, "I'm gonna get up with you." He said, "I got something for you." I said, "Okay, cool." And little did I know it was going to be, they made serial number 1 through 300, and everybody knows Billy has number 1, and he gave me serial number 2, which is the black one.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah, and then my
super
purple
cool.
one, yeah, it's really cool. The purple one, I bought it a good while back out of Base Northwest up in Seattle, and it's serial number 10. I wanted a purple one to go with the black one, but I wanted a very low serial number,
Yeah.
uh, to go with my other one. And yeah, man, so they sound great. I'm running the new DiMarzio Relentless pickups that were Billy's design with Larry DiMarzio. Billy turned me on to those, and I have those at all the basses I use with Artemis because they sound great for anything, but they're really great for rock.
Nice.
They're just real meaty and real they just, I have this term, not unless you are probably a bass player, nobody would understand it, but they have teeth.
Yes.
They just have a lot of grit and grind, and they're just perfect for rock music. They just sound so great. I get so many compliments after Artemis's show of like, man, those basses sound unbelievable. What are you doing that's different? And I'm like, no, nothing. I'm just running a P bass Relentless through a Ampeg preamp and a tube compressor. That's it, man.
Very cool. So you
Nothing.
you bought the purple one for me. You're gonna send that to me, right?
Yeah, you just gotta be sure and shoot me your address.
Yeah, I bet it'll work out.
But yeah, it's Billy is a wonderful, wonderful, very
Yeah.
warm human. I've never seen a guy of his on the level that he is that's so down to earth and so accessible to his fans. He's accessible to anybody that wants access to him. He's really cool, man. If you message him on social media, he answers himself. He
Yeah.
don't have anybody managing it. You can bet when he answers, it might only be a one word answer depending, but he's a great dude.
No, I've met Billy on several occasions. He is top notch, man. I've seen him with the Winery Dogs, Mr. Big. I've had the opportunity to shake that guy's hand. He is super cool, man. Everything you just said he is.
Yeah, he really is, man. He strives to be the best guy he can be for his fans, and that's why he's successful. He's always willing to share knowledge, and man, he's just full of knowledge. That guy, he's incredible, and he's not only that, he's just he is a good close personal friend. We like to talk about cooking. He loves to cook,
He
and we like to
does.
talk.
He
Yeah,
does.
we like to talk about cooking, and we like to talk about a lot of other stuff outside of bass, but obviously we do talk a lot of shop, and he's very helpful in a lot of areas.
So, Dave, what else you got coming up, man? You got any tour? I mean, I know you're on tour with Artemis Pyle. Is that something that's going to be kicking off here this fall, or is it something that's going on currently?
Yeah, it's going on currently. I can give you a little bit of a rundown if you want.
Absolutely.
This Friday, which is just in a couple of days, August 27th, we will be at Penns Peak in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. This Friday night, August 27th. September 2nd, we're in Asheville, North Carolina, which is the hometown of the band, at a Highland Brewery, where it's a benefit for the Rotary Club in Asheville, which is a great organization that helps a lot of underprivileged families. September 3rd is Chrisville, Maryland, at the Elks Lodge in Chrisville. September 11th is going to be a killer show at Glasgow, Kentucky, at the Plaza Theater, with special guest Ryan Brashear, which is one of the acts we're working with at our label. Ryan's a great young guitar player, singer, songwriter from Kentucky. He's amazing. He'll be opening that show for Artemis. September 25th, we're in Newport, Arkansas for Depot Days. It's a street festival, I guess. Sauk Rapids, Minnesota on October 8th at Raleigh's. And then Arnold's Park, Iowa on October 9th at Arnold's Park Roof Garden. Marion, Virginia on October 15th. The Capitol Theater in Flint, Michigan on October 29th. And then October 30th is Des Plaines, Illinois at the Des Plaines Theater.
All right, man. Thank you for that.
We got a few dates, and of course every February we do the Rock Legends cruise out of Florida. This year we'll be sailing to the Bahamas, and this year it's Styx and Deep Purple and us, and there's like, man, I don't know, there's like 20 or 30 bands on there with music going all the time.
Cool. Well, very cool, man. I'm going to be looking into that, and if I can make one of those, I will be sure to let you know.
Yeah, please do, man, because I think you'd really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and other than the label and just continuing to play with Artemis and the cancer benefit that's coming up, that's kind of what we got our finger on right now. That we're working on. So
that's awesome, man.
Well,
Dave, man, it's always a pleasure, man. And dude, I think a lot of you, and I really appreciate everything you do.
Well, you're very kind, and I'm very grateful to you. I'm just a regular guy that got real lucky on some things and just happened to be at the right place at the right time, like I said, and I just somehow amassed a career out of it, and I'm still doing it, and just so happy that I'm still doing it.
Nice. Absolutely, man. Well, I'll tell you what, buddy. I'm gonna let you off here, and you have a great night. And I will make sure to get you. I'll get my producer to shoot you over a copy of this interview, man. And I just want to thank you again for doing this, man. It was great.
Well, of course, brother. I was happy to do it. And yes, please send me a link.
Absolutely. We will do that for sure.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot, Bob. I appreciate it.
Dave, you have a blessed night, man. It's great talking to you, brother.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That concludes today's episode of the Metal Bob Live podcast. Please see our website for sponsor links. Thank you for listening. Metal Bob out.